Hello everybody, and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today we're going to be talking about the shifting release dates for several movies, including a film that I was really hoping was going to bring back the film industry, was going to bring back movie theaters. As you all know, I'm a huge movie fan, and I love going to experience them on the big screen. Tenet was supposed to be the film to get everything started off, and it looks like it still will be as far as the big budget films are concerned, but now it's been pushed back about 15 days to the very end of July, and this now has me concerned because, Christopher Nolan obviously was very passionate about sticking to the original release date of around July 15th. He's still very passionate about it getting released in theaters, not being released on digital. I think most people that have seen the trailer that are fans of Nolan would love to see this on the big screen and not simply on a computer screen or at a home television screen and get that full experience that the theater can offer in that way, especially seeing it in IMAX of all places. But it looks like, indeed, the cards are starting to shift. And the reason why I'm concerned is because if it's moved once, it can move again. Just go ahead and ask films like Wonder Woman 1984, which has also been moved now for a second time. If Tenet can move once, it can move twice, and my concern is that eventually you could see theaters say, yeah, well, you know what, we're not going to be ready to reopen in July because maybe of various states and various governments putting restrictions on theaters, not only here in the United States, but across the world, and that, of course, would make me very sad because I just want to go back to the theater. I'm lucky, though, because if you follow me on Twitter, I actually found a theater that's around 30 minutes away from me. It's a locally owned theater, and they're showing a bunch of old classics like Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it looks like it's going to be on a bigger screen for that movie specifically. It's like $7 to see it, which is against the $5 it normally costs, and so I'm like, yes, I actually might try this weekend to go see that film on the big screen again because I just want to go to the theater. But anyway, let's go ahead and dive into the specifics on this. So Tenet moves to July 31st, the 10th anniversary reissue of Christopher Nolan's Inception to go on July 17th. So looks like, hopefully theaters are still on pace to open up. My guess is that the movie studio were looking at this. Warner Brothers looking at this saying, okay, movie theaters are starting to reopen in July. Only a couple are really starting to open towards the end of June. I don't know if they're going to have enough theaters open for us to be financially solvent or to have a good financial investment in this film opening up earlier than it really has to. So let's go ahead and move it back just a couple weeks. Hopefully movies start to come out a little bit. Again, lesser known films like Unhinged, for instance, which has also now been moved back, again, going to July 10th now. It was originally scheduled between July 1st and July 5th, depending on the theater. So that has been pushed back about a week now, and we're going to obviously see a couple more movies that have also been pushed. So it makes sense from a financial standpoint why they would want to have it out when the theaters are, back at not full force, obviously, but at least back in a more efficient way. Obviously, we still don't really have any local AMCs opened up. We don't have any local Regal cinemas opened up. Cinemark is starting to open up in about a week or two, about a week and a half now at this point still, and that's pretty much it. So I can understand the studio's perspective on this of, hey, let's go ahead and just put out a film we've already done, Inception, put that back on the big screen. That might bring some people to say, hey, they were fans of Inception when it first came out. They haven't seen it in a long time. Maybe they'll want to spend, $5 to go see it on the big screen. Maybe they'll even be able to get it onto some IMAX screens too. That could actually be pretty interesting and pretty fun to see overall. So it says Warner Brothers Christopher Nolan's Tenet has officially been moved to July 31st. Instead of July 17th, Warner Brothers Pictures is partnering with exhibitors to invite audiences around the world to the 10th anniversary re-release of Nolan's Inception, starring, of course, Leonardo DiCaprio, etc. That special anniversary theatrical event also will give audiences a never-before-seen look at footage from Tenet and an exclusive sneak peek of select films on Warner Brothers' upcoming slate. Now, that second part actually has me more excited because I don't really want to see any more footage from Tenet. I want to just see the actual movie itself. I don't want anything to get spoiled. I don't want to know anything else than what I already know from the trailers that have been released. And that's one thing that Nolan has always been very, very good at is, holding back on the stuff that he puts in the trailers, or at least holding back on what the studios can put into his trailers, and at least people still asking a lot of questions, and I love that about his movies, and usually they deliver, giving you very thought-provoking films. Maybe not films that you love, maybe films that you might feel are overhyped or overrated, but at the very least, we can all admit, I think, that they are definitely films that make you think about various things going on. There's been a high degree of suspense and scrutiny in the media over the past month as to whether Tenet would move. This is a little bit of a nudge, nothing alarmingly dramatic. A $200 million production like Tenet, which doesn't boast the starry cast that Inception did, needs the world to make bank and enough runway to promote. And as I said, it makes sense from a financial standpoint for them to move it back. hopefully more theaters get into the running by the time July 31st comes around, so that way they can make the most return on their investment, not just here in the States, but of course across the world as well, because they have to think in a worldwide big picture when you have a $200 million budget. A couple of the other films that have been affected, Wonder Woman 1984 has a much bigger jump here. It has jumped from August to now October following the summer shift. So it says here, Wonder Woman 1984 is flying from August 14th to October 2nd of this year. All this comes in the immediate wake of Warner Brothers shifting Christopher Nolan's Tenet from July 17th to July 31st. Now, this does seem to indicate that studios are very much in agreement with, hey, guess what? This film Tenet is going to make some money. We don't want it to go up against any other, we don't want any of our big films like Wonder Woman 84 to go up against it. Obviously, it's still Warner Brothers, and it's interesting that Warner Brothers is the main studio pushing out these films, the first real big budget films to be released in theaters in this way. But it does, again, make sense, because even though it might not seem like it's very close, July 31st, August 14th, it's about a 2-week difference there. When you have a theater chain and you have various theaters across the country slowly reopening, and that process probably going molasses slow, it makes sense that they would want to have at least some buffer room in there. And I imagine that there probably weren't a lot of dates in September that would have worked, because there's probably other films from other studios that already have those slates. And so October 2nd to them, again, some people ask, why do they pick the weekends that they do? It's usually based on, okay, are there any other bigger films coming out at that time? How close is it to our other releases, so that way it doesn't take any money away from those projects? And is this a position where it could be successful? And so that's the reason why they decided to go with Wonder Woman 84 at that point. As I mentioned, Unhinged, which was supposed to be really the technically first new film to get a theatrical release, was supposed to open early July. It is now again moved from July 1st to July 10th. So roughly a little over a week has been moved back. If you've not seen the trailer for this, I did a trailer reaction on the Welcome to Asgard channel. Click the eye above my head for more information about that. It is pretty hilarious. It's one of those films that it tries to be serious about road rage, and all it ends up doing is creating just a crazy, unbelievable plot that just leads to a lot of fun in the process. But as far as other good news might be concerned, so obviously to me, this is all bad news. Even though I'm not excited about Unhinged, I am, obviously excited for Tenet and Wonder Woman. And it's interesting, though, that Tenet is really the film, like the linchpin, really, that had the impact on all of these other films. But one good bit of news, I guess we'd say, is that Bill and Ted Face the Music has now moved up a week in August after Wonder Woman 84 jump to October. So here's a movie isn't moving completely off the schedule after Warner Brothers exploded the release calendar today with its Tenet and Wonder Woman 94 release and changed moves. United Artists Releasing is going a week earlier with Orion's threequel, Bill and Ted Face the Music, now on August 14th. So at the very least, we have a brand new film still scheduled to come out that weekend that was originally meant for Wonder Woman 84. And it's a film that I actually, based on the first trailer, I'm pretty excited to see. Could it be really bad? Yes, it absolutely could be. It's obviously, I think, been way too long since the last one. However, it looks like they're playing on that. They're playing on the fact that they're much older than what they were when those first two films, Bogus and Excellent Venture, came out. And it looks like they're going to try and have some fun with that, which I, of course, always love to see when two actors, one of which, who I'm a huge fan of with, obviously, Keanu Reeves, are just having fun on screen. It looks like they're doing that. So I know that I'll be there opening night to go see that film August 14th. That is, of course, if any of the local theaters near me open up. But knowing that there is a somewhat localized theater about 30 minutes away from me, showing even as early, again, as far as the newest films go, Sonic, hopefully that means that once Unhinged comes out, and I guess that will be the real test, is if they get Unhinged, then I'll know, okay, they're getting some new releases, that I'd be able to see films like this. Obviously, seeing Tenet opening night, which is my plan, and I hope that the local theaters, the ones that are only 5 to 10 minutes away from me, open up by that time, because that would just make things so much better. And of course, down the road with Wonder Woman 1984. But what are your thoughts about this? Do you think that Tenet moving to July 31st makes sense? Again, from a economical standpoint, from a financial standpoint, I think it does. Obviously, they want the theaters to be in a better position than what they are right now. Many of them have not opened up yet, so they should start opening within the next couple weeks with Cinemarks. And then starting July 1st, AMC's Regal's assuming, again, we don't really know much about what's going on with Regal right now, but assuming around July 1st is when a lot of those theaters in the United States will have the process of reopening. And so we'll have to wait and see how Unhinged does. So we'll finally have some box office numbers for me to crunch, which it's going to be terrible because it's going to be really impossible to make any predictions with the market being so shaken the way that it is. And once again, though, that explains why films like Tenet, studios like Warner Brothers, are moving the films around and are putting films in the positions that they are. But anyway, tell me your thoughts about this and anything I talked about in the comments section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, hit that subscribe. It helps out a lot. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless. And now a huge shout out to all of my June Patreon members: Albertus Magnus, Animation Commentator, Brian P., David Bobrizik, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Wiener Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toon, Kenneth Cameo, Lady T, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, Outpost Dyer, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, The DJD Show, and Tina B. And also to my Subscribe-Star members: Edgardo Martinez, John B., Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, G2 Cool 99, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J. Rod, the Beer Guru, and also Nebanon G. Adams and ZK Man, and Jonathan Carney, and Jacob Juice. Thank you all so much for being a member of Patreon and Subscribe-Star. And seriously, it really does mean a lot. Helps keeps the light on, helps me able to do things like the giveaways for my $5 and up backers on Patreon and Subscribe-Star, and also be able to put more stuff into the actual channel itself, including upgrading different components, whether it be webcams, microphones, things like that. All of that helps to support it, and it really does mean a lot. So thank you all so very much. Please, if you want to have your name shouted out or look at any of the other perks, which include things like indeed having access to exclusive 4K digital giveaways every single month, and also an exclusive podcast hosted on Patreon and Subscribe-Star, and also YouTube memberships as well at the $10 and up level, featuring John the Flickpig Flickinger. Please check all of those things out in the description of this video. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.